Everyone. Looking back on Saturday, obviously a strange first half, how everything went down. Both teams scored on defense. There were some explosive plays. We were able to get the extra turnover on the 4th and 1 stop, which I thought was big to take that one in and score. You know, it's 14-0, 14-13, and then 28-13, and kind of went back and forth a little bit. A couple things that really stuck out to us is getting 2 field goals in 2 2-minute drives, in essence. Had the first field goal with around 2 minutes left. They elected to use some timeouts to try to save time, which I thought was smart because they were going to get the ball at the second half. And then we got a sack, and so we started using our timeouts. And then we were able to get another field goal to score twice before half, even though their field goals I thought was really important there. And then the missed PATs I thought were really important because then West Virginia was kind of chasing a lot of points the rest of the day and had to go for 2 and weren't successful there. And then in essence you're losing almost a touchdown with 2-point conversions missed in PATs, then the missed field goal. So special teams I thought was really good. I thought Malik Knowles was dynamite on special teams as well as a receiver. And our offense was very aggressive and did some really good things in the first half. A little bit tougher probably to do things in the second half because they took about 9 minutes off the clock in the first drive and don't get points, which was, I'm sure, demoralizing to the fact of they needed some quick scores, and we were able to get a stop there. So please, anytime you can go on the road and get a win, especially in Morgantown, it's a really tough place to play. It's a tough environment, and our guys were able to handle business. And now we're back this week. Got a really good KU team coming in here. I've got a lot of respect for Coach Leipold. Does a great job, and they're playing really well. I know they've been beaten the last couple weeks, but they're a good football team, and should be a heck of a battle here on Saturday.
What is this edition of Kansas football doing that's differently and being more successful than the previous ones?
I think the biggest thing is believing. You know, I don't know their roster, but they're playing hard and they're believing, and they do have talented players without question, but they're playing inspired. Them getting to a bowl game, I know was huge for the program, and I know that this is kind of the potential cherry on top for them with this game because they're already bowl eligible, so they really don't have anything to lose. And I know that they're playing hard for each other, and they're playing hard for their coaching staff, and it's going to be a big challenge.
Jalen Daniels struggled on Saturday against Texas, but we saw earlier in the year how dynamic he can be and how he seems to improve the entire team. What kind of problems does he present?
Well, he causes a lot of problems because he can throw it exceptionally well. He can run it. He extends plays, does a little bit of everything, and you're right. He makes everybody around him better. I'd say the same thing about Bean. I really would. I think he extends plays and he runs around, and both quarterbacks have had really good success throughout this season, and assume we're going to see both, or both will be available. And I don't know how much the offense changes, but something we're diving into right now to see if it does. But they're both really dynamic players that throw it well, run it well, and they're an explosive offense, and you can see that. And we have to have our eyes right because of a lot of misdirection and a lot of motions and kind of eye candy that they try to pull your eyes away.
Finally, Sincere Mason seemed to provide a bad update yesterday on social media. What's his status, and what's his due to the safety position?
Well, do you want to play, Fitz? Okay. Well, no, we don't want that. So Sincere's out for the year as well. Tough blow, and feel awful for him. And so it makes us pretty thin back there for sure. And you lose Kobe, and then you lose Sincere. But it's late November football, and that happens, and we've got to get the next guy ready to go. There's a lot of guys that are going to work in that position, and we'll kind of work through that this week and see what the best option is for us.
Is there anyone that maybe hasn't seen the field very much that might get an opportunity?
Kendre would be the one, Steiger, that played a little bit last week that could see the field. We're still working through all that. Max Marsh, Mashmeyer, TJ, VJ, there's a lot of guys back there that we're throwing around. And based on what our package and what our plan will be, we'll probably play a few guys back there.
You've been a part of some pretty heated rivalries in the past. Now that Kansas actually has a winning record, does that make I don't know? Does it make you guys view it any differently?
I think the big thing for me since I've been here that makes us view this a little differently is it's the last game of the season, and I think that's probably a good thing. I don't know where that's going or how that's determined, but the fact that I think rivalry games should be played later in a season, whether it's week 11, week 12, I think is great for both teams. No matter what the record is, I think there's a lot at stake when you have your rivalry game at the end. So that's what makes this one really unique. And without question, when you watch them on film, you see a team that plays faster, plays more confident, is making plays on both sides of the ball, and is a good team.
Is there anything Will Howard's doing right now that surprises you?
No.
How about Malik Knowles? What's he done the last few to take off?
The rise of Ben Sennett has helped everybody, and I think you guys all see how dynamic Ben can be, and he's as fast as a lot of wide receivers. I mean, he really runs down the field, and he has a big body that can wall people out and catch the ball, and he does things after a catch. The forgotten guy, Deuce Vaughn's still back there, so he draws a ton of attention. And now you have a tight end that can stretch the field, a running back that's one of the best in college football, and it's opened things up for Phil, Malik, and Cade. And last week, Malik was a huge factor because there was a lot of single coverage on him because of the other guys. And the thing that I was so happy with Malik is the amount of yards after catch he had and after contact, whether that was catching a slant route and splitting them and almost getting in the end zone, or catching a ball on 3rd and 14 or 3rd and 12 for 10 yards, breaking a tackle and scoring, or getting contacted at the 20-22 on a kickoff return and getting to the 33 or 35. I mean, those little things are big chunks of yards that he's playing really well.
I wanted to ask on the tackle Daniel Green made when they tried to go for the quarterback sneak against West Virginia. He timed that perfectly, just crashed down on the guy before he could even move forward. He said that's something you guys practice. How difficult is that to
it's more than anything, it's practicing the timing. He hasn't probably jumped over to tackle some of our scout team quarterbacks, but it's the timing that you practice. And give credit to the defensive line to get under the offensive lineman. That's the whole key, is to try to get those guys to be able to cut legs out so that there's not a lot of penetration from the offensive line. And that was a huge play, for us to get the ball. I was the right move to go for it at that time, I thought, and for us to get the ball and get another short field when we were playing really well on offense.
Coach, I want to ask you about Brendan Mott. He obviously Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week. Just talk about his progression this year.
He went on scholarship this year because he earned it, and just seeing how much he has worked and grown within our system, gotten stronger, gotten quicker, understands the game really well, learned from a lot of guys before him that taught him how to do things. And he went against really good offensive linemen for the last couple of years on scout team, and just a guy that really has earned it, worked his tail off to be in this position. And he doesn't stay blocked. He does a great job keeping himself alive and plays within the structure of the system, and has been a beneficiary of some really big plays and made some big plays again Saturday.
Can he and Austin Moore be two guys you guys, when you are out on the recruiting trail, point to as guys who have had successful careers as PWOs?
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of those guys. Ben Sennett's another one, and a couple of those guys are out of state. One's in state, but Nick Allen's another one. And there's so many of those guys. I mean, Gilly, and there's just tons of them that there's so many success stories of if you come here and get a chance and you make the most of your opportunities and develop and realize that you're not there and it takes some time, that if you want to invest that time, you can do it.
Just curious if you had an update on Adrian's status this week.
Yeah, he won't play this week, but I know he's improving quite a bit, and he's got good spirits right now. I know he would like to play, but we don't see him available this week. Something would happen really well in the next 3 days, and I doubt that will happen.
It's another senior class playing in their last home game under your watch. Probably one you've been with longer. Just what does this group mean to you?
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of senior classes, as everybody knows, because is it a fourth-year senior, a fifth-year senior, a sixth-year senior? Are they coming back? Are they not coming back? There's going to be some guys that I'm going to hug for the second year in a row, and there's going to be a couple guys that I'm going to hug, and I'm going to say, I'll see you next year, and they'll give me a quick wink. So it's hard. It's kind of a weird dynamic of where college football is at right now. But we have really good seniors, and they've been really good this year and over the last couple of years as far as making sure that locker room is really good. And that's the thing that I'm most proud of with this older group, this fourth, fifth, sixth-year guys is we came back from the pandemic in January of 2021, and they made a point that they were going to make that locker room something that was really special, and it's been fun. And you see that over the last 2 weeks when you go on 2 long road trips, one a night game and then one all the way out to Morgantown, and see how much fun our guys have and how committed they are to each other. It's a special group.
One of those guys that came back was Ty Zentner. He's a semifinalist for the Ray Guy Award. What would be your case for him to win it?
Because he does all 3 for starters, and I know it's the Ray Guy Award, but he does all 3 and doing them all really well. And that's hard to do. I've got a guy that played for me that did all 3, and he knows how hard it is, and he works up here now in Ben LeCompte, and I marvel at what Ty's doing to be doing all 3 of them at the level he's doing them. Man, that's hard to do, and to make a 46-yarder, make 2 53-yarders, which it's a little thing, but that's Randon, Jack, and Ty have been through a ton together, and they know each other so well, and it was neat. I mean, those guys understand it. The ball, they called timeout, the ball snapped, we get a kickoff, and he feels good. It's like, you get 2 drives on the opening tee. It's a breakfast ball for him. And I thought he banged it and then came back and hit it again. And he's playing really well right now, and he's playing with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, you mentioned it last Saturday, but I think you've done it for the last 2 weeks. The jumbo package with Andrew Leingang, kind of like a 6th guy on the line of scrimmage. What was the inspiration for that?
Coach Riley, and we got into ran some plays we haven't ran here in a few years. We want to see where Liney's at because KT and Duff are doing a really good job, and we've got good cohesiveness in our O-line and good communication, and we've got to get Andrew some more snaps, and so that the last few weeks has allowed us to get him in the game, and that's given Liney a bunch of confidence. He's going to be a long-time starter here, and so I'm glad we got that package in.
In what ways does Kotelnicki with the KU offense scheme guys open so frequently?
I think he's got a great mind and very creative, and sees pictures that he's done that has had success, shows the same picture, does something different, or masks the picture, and then with shift trade in motion gets back into something and runs a lot of the same neat stuff in my mind, really, really creative things offensively it still goes down to the same thing. You have to have your eyes right on defense. I don't care if it's pressure, if it's a base zone, you have to have your eyes right, because if you don't, they've got so much speed at the wide receiver position, and been really impressed with the tight ends and fullbacks because they catch the ball well, they block well, they run good routes. It's a really difficult offense to defend.
Defensive backfield, who has the baton been passed to as far as that communication aspect?
It's got to be Drake and Josh. Those are the 2 older guys that kind of leaned on Kobe. Then Kobe got hurt, and then they leaned on Sincere, and now I've talked to both those guys. We've got to lean on those 2 guys. Those 2 guys have played a lot of football, been around each other, and know what we're supposed to do out there, and may have to help a younger player. So it's got to be those 2.
Has Malik Knowles started to see the bigger picture of what a wide receiver does to get open on rub routes and just et cetera?
Yeah, I think Coach Ward's done a great job, and Malik's been really dialed in and been a big focal point of our offense, which is important for us to get him the football. however we get him the ball, because he's that dynamic. I think all of us have seen that over his 4 years, but he's just so dialed into the game plan. He's got a great rapport with Adrian, has a great rapport with Will, and excited for the senior year he's having.
How would you describe the emotions of this team this week?
It's interesting because we talked about it at length on Monday. It's not a normal week for a variety of reasons. The first thing is there's no school. And so we're having a normal Monday and a normal Tuesday. We're going to adjust a little bit on Wednesday and Thursday for the Thanksgiving time with potential families, because we have so many guys that can get home from a short distance. That's the great thing about so many local guys. The fact that it's KU week is another big piece to that, and it's senior day. There's so many distractions that could come up if you're not focused on the task at hand, which is your preparation each day. And if you attack that preparation each day and make sure to not skip any steps and have no shortcuts, if you do all those things right, you're going to get to Saturday in a good place.
You mentioned time and time again, this is a seasoned group and they're really process-driven. Do they have to ratchet that up even more this week?
I'm always careful about that. That this one's more important than last week or the next week or the previous 2 weeks. I've never been a big believer in put all your eggs in this basket, because if you don't have success, what happens? I think that's undue pressure on kids. We talk a lot about pressure versus stress. Pressure is something you prepare for and you're ready for and you practice for. Stress is throwing things on kids that don't need to be thrown on, whatever that may be. Some of it's outside noise that they need to be able to block out. And I'm confident we have a really good group of leaders in here, great locker room in there, that they'll block out some of the outside noise and realize that the focus is us. It's not even KU or whatever's coming after. It's us and what we have to do on a daily basis to prepare.
D. Scott kind of stole my question, but as he's wont to do. But with a rivalry game, senior night, and everything, you talked about liking having the rivalry game at the end of the season. But is that a positive where maybe they're more fired up, or are you concerned that there may be some distractions there?
I think they're going to be fired up. Now, whether or not we're good enough to win, we'll find out on Saturday. But whether or not we're good enough to win is dictated by how we handle today, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
For someone who hasn't been around the rivalry a ton, what makes this rivalry between K-State and KU something that's unique and special?
When we bring back former players, I think it's cool to ask those guys about games. One of my favorite guys is Brooks Barta. Brooks Barta loves this game, and he's going to be busy this weekend. But Brooks Barta is a guy that's talked to our team a few times. I think of people like that, and the former guys, the people that have put on the helmet way before, put on the power cap way before any of our guys have, or been in the positions that I'm in, or any of our coaches have. That's why we play this game. That's what we're trying to honor, and that's who we're trying to honor, is the alumni that laid the foundation for us that started this rivalry. And that's what you've got to kind of keep in the back of your mind too, and not try to get ahead of yourself, because it's those people that you're playing for.
I know you care a ton about the alumni and everything that Coach Schneider did to establish this program and help it grow into what it is today. But, what was your learning process of this rivalry, and, how did you learn about the history of it and everything like that?
Just from former players, more than anything. The guys, like I mentioned, like with Brooks and Stan Weber and different people. You ask guys about it. You ask the local Kansas kids, the Brockmanis, the guys that were here when I first got here, Wyatt Hubert, all those guys that tell me about this. And you just try to, you don't want to have anything preconceived of this is what it's about. You just want to ask the guys that have been on the front lines for it.
Quick one. A lot of people talk about, one game at a time. No one game means more than anything. But, you ask an Ohio State or Michigan fan, it's like that one game means more. Is that how this rivalry is this week or anything like that?
I don't know how other people perceive it. I've been in a lot of rivalry games. and been as a player, as assistant coach, as a head coach. I caution people about putting too much pressure and or too much stress on kids. It just doesn't do any good, you know. These guys know what's at stake. Our guys are smart enough to realize what's at stake. So rather than putting all that stress on them, let's just handle the day as it goes and make sure that we're prepared for today and prepare for Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, and then we'll see if we're good enough.
How have, excuse me? How have you seen Devin Neal grow from last year into this year?
I think it's just reps and experience. I mean, he's the guy. We saw him so early last year that I didn't get to follow how they did after we played him, because I know it was in October, and I don't even know if that was game 2, 3, or 4 in our conference, but I know it was fairly early. But now you get a chance to watch a body of work of a whole season, and he's gotten stronger as the season's gone on. I've always thought he's a really good running back that had speed, had power. Now he's showing vision, he's showing patience, all those things, and so he's having a really good year.
And then KU lost some of the more dynamic wide receivers that they had in the past, but they have a group this year that's been really solid. What's impressed you most about guys like Grimm and other guys like
They make plays. They can really run. They understand the offense. You got to realize now they're year 2 in the offense, which goes to show you the coaching staff is really good. Scott Fuchs is a good friend of mine, the offensive line coach. Coached with him before. The coaches know what they're doing there. They're really good coaches across the board. I know a couple on defense, know Lance really well, know a couple on offense. These guys are being coached really well. And when you see that and you see it on the film, I mean, you guys improve when people believe in them. It's amazing how when guys develop and buy in and believe that how much better they can be.
Chris Will said something interesting the other day. He said right now it feels like he knows the offense like the back of his hand. Just wondering, when you watched him in practice or whenever, when did you first realize, hey, this guy's got this thing down?
Oh, just taking it from spring, like we talked about when he had all the reps with the ones in the spring of 2022, and then watching him continue to grow through fall camp, and just I sit in the quarterback meetings a decent amount with CK, and he's got the answers to a lot of the questions, and he's very calm, he's very confident. If Colin makes a mistake in calling something, Will can correct it. Doesn't happen very often, but Will can correct it, or Will say, "You sure you want that?" And oh no, wait, yeah, let's do it this way. I mean, the kid you've been around him for 3 years, and that goes back to the question of the wide receivers at KU and our quarterback here. When people believe in you and you buy in and you work hard and you understand there's a process, you improve, and he has improved really well this year. It's been remarkable. Okay, have a good week, everyone. Have a good Thanksgiving.